Apologizing when you've done something wrong is really hard for the best of us. So I'm going to break down Will Smith's apology, and I'm going to go through the things that he did right and the things that he could have done better. So the first thing he does is he's addressing why it took him so long to apologize in the first place. Maybe he apologized to Chris really quickly, but for everyone that's watching, this has just been months. It's important if you take a lot of time to apologize to give the reasoning as to why.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech?
Right away when he's reading the question, it's very robotic. He's not really paying attention to it. Now, I think that for Will, this is actually a defense mechanism. He's not taking it in. I think that he's really embarrassed, and I think that it will feel bad to be able to give the emotion, but I think that that takes away from that genuineness. We need to see if he feels bad, if that's the reason for it, because perhaps it's not. We need to hear that, and so it's really important to be able to share your raw feelings when you're going to apologize. Because for an apology to be good, it has to be sincere. It has to come from the heart. Just saying, oh, so sorry you feel that way, doesn't make anyone feel better because you don't really mean it. You're just saying it. It's just lip service. You just want to get over with it. And so that heartfelt, those emotions, this is not the time to be able to hold them at bay.
I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy.
So saying that it was fuzzy and I don't really remember what it is, okay, that could be very well true, but we need to hear a little bit more. It was very public. So for him to just be like, you know what, it was there, it was fuzzy, we need to hear why. This was really embarrassing, upsetting, heartfelt, I was hurt, I was angry, I was emotional. We want to know what you were going through. Because if we can empathize with your feelings that you went through and put ourselves in your shoes, then there's a greater chance for the apology to be accepted.
I've reached out to Chris. He's not ready to talk. Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk.
This part of the apology, you can tell that there's a whole bunch of defenses that are in the way. It's robotic, it's practiced. I don't feel any emotions coming through. I can tell that there is emotion behind it, but it's kept at arm's distance. It's staged, curated, practiced. It doesn't sound genuine to the person that he's actually hurt. I don't think that if I was Chris hearing this, that I would feel that that was really genuine, that he shows a lot of remorse towards Chris. And that is probably the biggest problem with this apology video.
I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did. I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment.
You hear more heartfelt apology when he's talking about Chris's mother than when he's talking about Chris himself. That one sounded kind of contrived, and this one sounds more heartfelt. It's less practiced, and when it's less practiced, we feel like it's more genuine, and that feels more validating, and you really want the person that you've hurt to feel like you understand why they're bothered by something, because it's not really about saying sorry, it's about being understood, to be able to walk into someone else's path, especially when you're the one that harmed them.
I spent the last 3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened, and I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now.
The audience for this apology doesn't really seem to be Chris or his family. It really seems to be his fans. Like, that's who he's talking to. It comes off more as a PR move than it is something that is really genuine. And I think that that's one of the bigger issues with this apology. He starts off with talking about Chris, but it's kind of contrived, and he just goes through all the points like he's checked off all of the boxes, but it doesn't come from the heart. And as he goes through and kind of warms up, he seems to share more and more feelings. If he's trying to do this to be able to share with his fans why he did this and make them feel better about him, then this is the time to be able to unpack why and what happened to bring him to this point.
There is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults.
So the other piece is that you want to take full responsibility for your actions. So him saying that this is not the optimal way to handle it, probably there's very few cases where assaulting someone else is the right way to handle it. This is him downplaying his actions, which we usually do when we're in the wrong. They want to minimize it so that they don't look as bad or feel as bad. No one wants to see themselves as monsters. It's really hard for us. But that doesn't go a really long way about him being able to fully take responsibility, that radical responsibility that we want when someone's owning their actions. Saying it wasn't optimal is really diminishing the gravity of his actions when you've assaulted someone.
After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. I made a choice on my own. Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe.
If she was laughing and happy about it, though, he probably wouldn't have reacted that same way. You can tell there was a big difference when she was fine versus when she had the look of this isn't okay. But yes, it is still his action. He made this choice and he has to own that. And so I do really respect that he carried this fully, even if the inception of that might have been him understanding how this made her feel.
To all my fellow nominees, it's like I won because you voted for me. And it really breaks my heart to have stolen your moment. I can still see Questlove's eyes. You know, it happened on Questlove's award. And
this is heartfelt. He really feels bad for ruining other people's moment, for being able to make the entire night not about the other people that won, but about him and his reaction to what Chris said. But again, it makes me go back to, I really wish that he had given that genuine a sentiment of remorse to how Chris reacted and Chris's look after he hit him. It ends up becoming this huge, stark difference between the way that he reacts to each person as he goes through with this. You can tell the difference between as he keeps on going and sharing his feelings and the ones that were kind of curated and cold versus the ones that you can see him genuinely pausing and thinking about what happened, and you can tell that he's replaying it in his head, and that nod of no is that feeling of, I wish I had not done this.
You know, it's like I'm sorry really isn't sufficient.
No, it really isn't. Someone publicly being assaulted and people weighing in on it that's trying to entertain people versus someone that's accepted an award. There's such a huge difference. There's such a dichotomy that you can tell that there's some cognitive dissonance that he still has to go through to be able to fully comprehend the consequences to his actions to the person that he physically hurt, not just the people that he emotionally caused damage to or stole time from. Because I'm probably not the only one that went, yeah, but that should have been to Chris.
What would you say to the people who looked up to you before the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? Disappointing people is my central trauma. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me.
I think that was wonderfully said. He shares that he did it. He doesn't even give a defense to this. He kind of owns up that that's what's happened and gives the reasoning why this hurts so much, how he truly feels about that this is one of the things that are his hurts. And the fact that he did it is really crushing for him. I can feel it. I can understand it. It's one of the things that I hate to do. And for someone that's in the public eye and people look up to, the crash is pretty hard.
I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself. I'm human, and I made a mistake.
I love him sharing that he made a mistake, that he's human, that everyone else does it. Okay, he feels really bad for the way that his fans feel towards him, and that's why I don't think that this apology has anything really to do with Chris. I think that he pretty much says at the beginning, you know what, Chris and I are going to work this out when Chris is ready. He's not ready now. And so because of this, this is only for you. But that leaves me bothered whenever I get these heartfelt moments that are not directed to the right person. If I was here and Will and Chris were in front of me, I would ask Will, well, talk to Chris. Tell him, even if he's not ready to accept it or hear it, speak directly to him. Are you doing this work to make yourself better because of the wrong that you did towards him? Or do you actually only feel bad because of the repercussions to your fans and the amount that this is going to cost you economically and the amount of residual heat that your family have? Because those are two huge differences in where you hold your accountability. And that's really important when we're trying to let other people know that we're working on changing. You need to be able to kind of own up to what are the reasons for this happening. But I do like the way that he explains it. And I think that it's really important for us to be able to understand the reasons and the things that make us tick.
I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit. I would say to those people, I know it was confusing. I know it was shocking.
When we've done something wrong, it's really hard to not reflect on ourselves as being a horrible person or a monster, and that makes it really, really difficult. Just apologizing to someone takes so much humility and ego strength, and to be able to do it in a public way, which I think that for this, I would usually say, doing it in a public way is not suitable, is not fitting, and usually not beneficial. But in this, it was a public action. It is something that everyone experienced. And so because of that, I think that it is really necessary that he does apologize publicly, especially for the amount of people that were hurt and humiliated in the process of what he did.
I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world. And if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
I don't love the ending. It's not that it isn't genuine, because I do believe that that's what he wants. It's kind of these things of like he's not talking to Chris. He's talking to his fans. They weren't really his friends in the first place. And so because of that, it doesn't really come off as being really authentic. I think that it would have been better for him if he stated, you know what, I'm going to work on being a better person, a person that is worthy of your time, and for you to be able to think about me in a better light than this mistake. And I think that it's missing that. And I think that he should have come back around and really talked about the way that this affected Chris. If he's apologizing for something he did wrong to someone, I think that it would have been a really nice statement if he could state and put himself a little bit in Chris's shoes of what it must have been like for him, so that we really understand that he gets what happened. When you talk about something that's kind of contrived and not true, it causes that disjoint in our brain about like, wait a second, but we're not friends. So we're not going to become friends again. That's not true. It's like those restaurants that say, come here, you're our friend. Well, then I shouldn't be paying. If we're friends or family at the restaurant, I shouldn't be paying. And so right away that causes a disjoint. They're like, I don't know what else I should not be believing about what you're saying. I think that his emotional sentiment is usually quite good, except for at the beginning when he's actually talking to Chris. Those are my thoughts on Will Smith's apology, the things that I liked and the things that I think that he could have done better. Let me know what your thoughts are. Did you believe it? Did you not believe it? What would you change if you were the one that was helping him to make a genuine, heartfelt apology that would make people feel better? If you liked this video, please hit subscribe and share it with other people. That really does help out my channel. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.